and welcome back. My name is V, and today we're gonna watch something that I probably shouldn't be watching as I'm still not done with the base War Within story, but I just can't help myself. The Siren Isle preview has come out on the official World of Warcraft channel, and I have to see it. I have to. So far, I'm gonna be honest, I am absolutely in love with all of the zones from the War Within. And I think that they've done a really good job at both storytelling and just kind of creating these different zones, different environments with different themes at the end of the day, even though it all wraps up neatly into this void slash Nerubian slash probably something that I haven't even seen yet kind of story. So I'm excited for that. And we're going to watch the Siren Isle preview together. If you happen to be new here on the channel, make sure to subscribe and do check out the pinned comment as you can find my full The War Within playthrough so far. Do leave the like on the video for the algorithm gods and let's watch the preview together. Well, here we go.
Hi, I'm Kayla Brown and I am a game producer on the WoW team. I'm here joined with a bunch of our talented developers in order to show you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into what we have lined up for our 1107 content update. One of the awesome features that we have coming in with 1107 is actually a brand new zone that we have named Siren Isle. Our design philosophy when creating this zone was to make sure that we made a very engaging outdoor end game experience that would cater to a whole bunch of different play styles and player types.
Siren Isle is a mysterious island.
So I'm just going to make brief comments as the video is about 8 minutes long and I'm sure I won't remember everything. The way that she said they're going to create a zone for the end game experience. I don't know if this is something like it's kind of like that they did in Battle for Azeroth back in the day when they made like the gnome zone and whatnot with all of these open world enemies that spawn in stages, world bosses and such, or is it actually going to be like, I don't want to say mini dungeons, but some form of new mechanic that they're going to introduce that is going to be more open world. Now, for the lack of a better example, in Final Fantasy XIV, there's such a thing as hunts, for those of you who don't play 14, where basically super powerful enemies spawn across the map in time intervals, and there are people waiting for these bosses to kill them. So essentially kind of like a world boss, but I'm curious.
Located in a particularly stormy part of the ocean. During the Fourth War, it was used by the Kultirans to mine azurite, and then everybody mysteriously disappeared. Recently, the island has sent out a massive pulse of energy, and everything heard it. And your allies are mounting an expedition to this island to find out what happened and investigate.
Players arrive in Dornegal to meet up with the goblin Skagit, which is Gazlo's assistant. And we find that the Earthen and the Arathi have already made it to the island, so naturally Skagit's ready to go. He's like, get on the Zeppelin, let's go, it's time for adventure. So what's fun about the Siren Isle is when players arrive, we see signs that Kultirans have been here before, but there seems to be nobody around, which is really interesting. We see all these buildings and structures, but by the time the expedition gets there, it's empty. It's one of those fun little mysteries, we hope. So on this island,
cool.
Players are going to have a wealth of enemies to encounter.
That's like a good
we actually
story.
have 3 separate groups. So we have the Bloodwake Vrykul, we have the Naga, and then we have a bunch of pirates. These groups will be rotating around on the island, so players won't encounter the same group week to week. Also, players will encounter a large crystal in the center of the island that seems to sing gently or hum, which has attracted the attention of both the Arathi and the Earthen. So our friends on the island, they're all here for different reasons, which is really exciting. The Earthen and the Arathi are here to study the crystal, and you know, the goblins are interested in what the crystal can do, right? And so they're a really fun cast of people to have because they're so different, but it's also fun to have them all together here because their differences actually might be more complementary than we think.
Siren Isle, being in a particularly stormy part of the ocean, is regularly lashed by horrible tempests. During these storms, powerful creatures of all kinds come up out of the ocean and assault the island. Players can defend their allies to
I do really hope that they make this worthwhile. Now, I I have to admit I am somewhat of a loot-driven person, and I do like it when these things drop good loot and whatnot. But I'm more of a collection kind of person, so I do like pets, I do like mounts, I do like more of these miscellaneous things rather than just hoping for some kind of end game gear. Even the gear that gives off appearance is pretty amazing to get, but I think that there's a huge potential here to attract a massive players who not only want activities out in the open world but are somewhat loot driven. So hopefully they're not going to make it just as a tick on the daily quest or a weekly quest box to fill out, and for us to be like, okay, so once a week I have to wait for an enemy to spawn, or once a day I have to kill one, or something like that.
To go into the storm. In order to do this, their allies have provided them with vehicles and weapons and other tools that they can use to take on these much more powerful enemies. There's all these crazy powerful enemies that show up, and you get to use these tools. For example, my favorite is the crawler mines. You can grab them, target one of the big nasties, and just have the bomb run up to it and explode. Boom. There's 3 caves on the island that are sealed up. Each of these caves has a deadly enemy inside. Players will be able to chip in, and you can donate to their excavations. And each of the factions, the Earthen, the Goblin, and the Arathi, have a different cave on the island, and players can donate to get the events to open.
Get your feet moving. We got a tunnel to blast open.
Circe's Circlet is a mysterious ring that once belonged to a mythical, legendary siren named Circe. It's a very powerful item that'll give you an edge, especially on the Siren Isle. And as weeks unfold, you'll be able to unlock more gems, more powers associated with Siren Isle and the ring. So this is actually a model of Circe's Circlet that you'll be able to see in game. One of our artists, Brittany Reinhardt, was able to throw it together, and you can see, like, even in game, you'll be able to see it on your character.
Really neat.
I thought it was pretty cool. You'll be able to interact with a lot of different pieces of content using this ring. It'll be fairly strong, and it'll have 3 different sockets, each one.
What I don't like particularly is new systems of borrowed power, and this always has me worry in World of Warcraft, because I am the kind of person who forms attachment to these items when you're gifted something, and then at the end of the expansion, you have to say goodbye to it, or you don't even have to say goodbye, but it just kind of gets, I don't know, either destroyed through the story, or you just can't use it anymore because it's just not powerful enough. I wish that some of these artifacts or things to keep either change their effect to at least to keep it as a little bit of a memento. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the power. It can have some sort of a fun effect. Now I'm going into depths of it, but even using the item to play an important cutscene or something like that at will as an effect change would be better than destroying an item, for example, when the big conflict gets resolved or something like that. Even worse, sometimes these items just become worthless things to either keep in your bag or take up a bank slot or something like that, or something that we just end up forgetting. So there's a lot of ideas, a lot of different things on how these items can be I guess transported into a new expansion, a new environment, and for us to still take a look at them and say, this is where, this is when I was doing this or that. It's a little bit of a memento and a keepsake. I do like keepsakes, so that's probably a little bit of a flaw of mine when I play RPGs, because I do hoard my little keepsakes, and maybe that's the reason why they don't do this, so that people wouldn't hoard like I do. But, it's still kind of nice that we're getting it at the end of the day.
One is a different type, and you'll be able to collect a myriad of different gems that fit into these sockets, all of which do different things. Even in the current season, they'll be fairly strong, and in the next season, they'll kind of be strong enough to give you a leadway to the new content coming up. There's a slew of really cool mounts, a bunch of different transmog appearances, some of which are unused from past years that are really exciting to finally get into the players' hands. They've seen it in the files long enough.
First thing is we look for a lot of reference to make sure that we're making something believable, something that seems like it's grounded in nature's rules enough so that when players look at it, there's nothing that's just like totally breaks their immersion. The aesthetic is really interesting. It's kind of inspired in some ways by the American Southwest. Like I was looking at some references of Arizona and stuff, the elements of those cliffs there. And so those are some of the things that we'll do to bring the world to life. We have filled this thing with a lot of secrets, even more than in some of our previous full zone maps, because it's smaller, it's denser. So I'm excited to see if people can find all the crazy stuff that we did. I put in this little spooky spot back here. The quest designers wanted like an atmospheric kind of creepy spot, so I put like lots of animal bones have kind of been washing up in here. Another thing that's cool too is all these little like caves and micros that we added in. Each one kind of has its own crazy theme. Like over here.
For someone who has aspiration to work in the game dev industry, I think that it is really, really cool for those people to see these kinds of previews and just enjoy the process and getting to know how people from the WoW dev team in general work on these projects. It's kind of nice how he says, I put these bones here, I did this or did that or whatever. And I'm sure that it's a very special experience to go into the game then and be like, yeah, I did that, together with my team. It's just kind of nice.
Here they'll spawn in this like crazy dragon that's going to get spawned in from all these bones that have been collected and stuff. So that's kind of like the pinnacle of this like little creepy pocket over here. This used to be like an azurite mine over here in the center. So there's like elements of what happened here, but then you can tell something bad happened. And there's also this really cool stuff that was put up in the ridges of the mountains. And one of the things I helped out with doing was like making a lot of this space playable. So instead of just being limited to a flat 2D plane, we can put stuff on top of that 2D plane, and then you get new gameplay experiences, new vantage points, like this big mine track that goes above everything. We definitely do a lot of play testing and soup testing amongst ourselves, and that really helps too. I'm not just kind of designing stuff in my corner. That will like get people to actually run through it, and I'll get opinions from people who haven't been building it to see like where do they get lost, where are the pain points here.
I feel like this is something that they didn't used to do enough in the previous versions, and I know this from some of my WoW guides on mounts and this or that, and the very common points where people get lost, they don't know where to go, or maybe how to switch between this or that version of the zones. And I think that it's good that they're focusing more on playing their own game. This is fantastic.
And that's a process we don't just go through for this, we go through it for all the spaces we design in our game. And again, we'll also look back at previous examples of what did players like from previous zones, what did they not like. We try to learn from our past mistakes and learn from our past successes and bring that forward into our new stuff.
One of my favorite little Easter eggs, because there were plenty on this isle, there were plenty of Easter eggs and secrets for people to look forward to. One of my favorites personally is the bestiary, actually, all the creatures that are native to the island. One of the things that I took a lot of inspiration from was actually Darwin's finches on the Galapagos, and that essentially states that there are all of these finches that are very closely related, but on different islands their beaks have become different, right? So they have adapted to do different things and eat different things. So I took that concept and I put it on the Siren Isle. It's like, we have this isle, what are all the creatures that have come here? How has the island been affected over time? Like, all of the creatures are intentional, and it's a fun Easter egg that I don't think people would look for, but I hope that they'll enjoy uncovering the secret of the history of the Isle through the creatures as well.
Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Our team had a blast in creating and bringing to life Siren Isle, and we really hope that you have just as much fun exploring it as the team did in creating it. Wanted to thank you all again, and we really hope to see you all in the Siren Isle.
Yep, I am definitely excited, and I'm not gonna lie, my prediction, I guess at the beginning of this video that I made regarding this kind of sounding like those late game Battle for Azeroth zones that I enjoyed quite thoroughly. I like that. I spent a lot of time in, the little Mechanum zone and looking for these bosses, trying to do these achievements to get the mount for the zone. Unfortunately, I'm still like 1 or 2 achievements short, so I need to get on with that. But in the underwater zone, I did get the crab, the one that walks sideways. I think it's called a cutler something. I had a lot of fun doing these, and I think, judging from what I've seen, that they've upgraded on this kind of idea, and I'm really excited for that. First of all, I'm excited to finish the War Within campaign, which I do hope that you have been enjoying, or you will be enjoying with me here on the channel. So do check out that pinned comment with my full playthrough so far. And thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think about the Siren Isle, what you expect out of the new mechanics, and what your hopes are for the new content. Leave the like on the video, subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.